I am starting the live stream now. Give me 1 second and we will be going.
Okay.
All right. You hear the tunes. You have a great show.
All right, thanks.
It's time for Success Profiles Radio with your host, Brian K. Wright. Have you ever wondered if there's more to life than you're currently living? Then Success Profiles Radio is the program for you. Every week, we'll explore different aspects of success and how to apply them to your life. Guests will come from many different backgrounds, including expertise in leadership, business, relationships, careers, networking, health, overcoming adversity, and much more. Every show is a dose of inspiration. This is Success Profiles Radio. And now, here's your host, Brian K. Wright.
Hello and welcome to Success Profiles Radio. I'm your host, Brian K. Wright, and it's an absolute pleasure to be with you today. I'm honored that you chose to spend part of your day with me here, and this is going to be a fantastic and amazing show. I will introduce my guest shortly, and I promise we're going to have a lot of fun, and we're going to learn some things along the way. And I do want to take a minute or two to share some things I've been learning and thinking about lately, and I usually do this every single week. If you are disappointed about not attaining a goal, I would suggest you reframe what winning actually looks like for you. Whether your goal is to reach a certain income level this month or this year, or to land a large client, there's a chance you might not achieve your goal the first time. There might be many reasons for that, but not reaching your target doesn't mean you failed. There's a good chance you are on your way, though. Perhaps your win was achieving higher revenue than last month, even if it wasn't your target goal. Maybe you didn't land that large client yet, but you got an important introduction that will make getting that sale easier later on. Or maybe a meeting got scheduled with that elusive decision maker who's always been way too busy to talk to you. So while you didn't get your big win yet, you did make progress, and that is a win. Alternatively, recognize why you set your goal. If you set your revenue goal at a certain target, or you needed that large client this month, what was a specific reason for that? If you need to pay off a company debt, or you want to buy or lease a bigger space for your company, maybe there's another path. The path you chose might not be the path. Consider that your path to winning looks a lot different than you originally thought it would. That's a lot more empowering than thinking you just took a giant loss. Don't engineer the perfect win, engineer momentum wins. That is something you can duplicate. And if you've not picked up my latest book, it's called The Greatest Lessons I Learned from My Coach. I had a chance to collaborate with some amazing people, and we all shared a chapter about our lessons that we learned from our greatest coaches. And that book is available on Amazon right now. And so I'd love for you to pick that up, and hopefully you're blessed by it. It would mean a lot if you would do that. I do want to introduce my very special guest this week is Behdad Jamshidi. Let me tell you about him. He started CJAM Marketing Connector after realizing that most business owners didn't know how to evaluate the value of a marketing agency or assess their own needs. Since every business is different, not only in their own needs, but where they are in the growth process, it's certainly not a one size fits all. In the last 7 years, he's met with and assessed over 1,000 marketing agencies and bedded them down to a lean 100 preferred partners all across marketing niches. After pairing hundreds of businesses with the right partners, he's found his skill set lies in the matchmaking process. Featured in MarketWatch, Bloomberg, National Post, and the Financial Post, his unique background in marketing, engineering, consulting, leadership, sales, and strategy have allowed him to serve as the conduit between business owners and the marketing teams they need. We have so much to unwrap and unravel. This is going to be such a fascinating discussion. So here we are with my very special guest, Behdad Jamshidi. How are you? Welcome to the show.
Doing great. Thanks for having me, Brian.
I'm very glad that you're here. The question I usually like to start with is, did you envision early on that you'd be where you are now?
Nowhere even close to it. I started as an engineer, so being in marketing literally never crossed my mind.
Wow. So how did that transition happen? Tell us about that.
Yeah. So I used to work for a company very similar to Verizon, but up in Canada, it's called TELUS. And so a lot of my work growing up was on the B2B side of things. So I used to work with mid-sized companies, 50 to 1,000 type employee range, understanding like what's going on from a C-level perspective, IT perspective, and then building out technology roadmaps. How do you get from A to B to C within an organization? And I got to work with like the Lushes of the world, big not-for-profits, manufacturing, law firms, whole host of different types of businesses. And a lot of my business consulting, sales, leadership, and technology experience came from there. On the marketing side, though, one sushi lunch changed the entire trajectory. I started building out websites, Google Ads, and SEO on the side for fun. Find out building websites on the weekend is not very fun, especially 80-hour websites on the weekend isn't very fun. So I started looking for different marketing agencies to work with and pass work off to them. So I talked to businesses, pass off the work to marketing agencies, and realized that most marketing agencies don't understand business, and most businesses don't understand marketing. And I thought very foolishly as an engineer at the time that I could find 10 marketing partners, I'll talk to businesses, see what they need, and then match make. And as I went through that process, I started realizing 93% of marketing agencies aren't good at anything. And the last 7% are good at one to three things. And now that I've talked to 1,131 different marketing agencies and experts, I've just essentially match make the vetted partners in my network that I trust with businesses and allow them to kind of move forward together.
That's interesting, and we will talk a lot more about that later for sure. That is the meat and potatoes of what our discussion will be about today. How did you decide to become an entrepreneur, though? To go from an engineering and being involved in technology to what you're doing now, that's quite a leap of faith.
Yeah, I mean, it was a leap of faith, but I did it my own way. When I was working as an engineer, I mean, any engineer you probably know is very risk averse.
Hmm.
We don't like taking a lot of risks. So for me, I was kind of building the business on the side of working as a full-time engineer. And I had a number in my head. I was like, if I can get to this number, then at that point I'd jump, and go and see what this business could do. So for about 3.5 years, I was working full-time as an engineer, and I was actually getting promoted every year. So I was the youngest senior sales engineer while I was running my business. And I got to a point where the business was making more in profit than I was as a full-time engineer. And part of me kind of just sat there going, what am I doing? Am I like missing out on opportunities because I'm working full time and I'm trying to
Hmm.
balance these two things out? And so it was kind of like at that point where I was like, okay, I have 1 year of salary in the business, even if like I made no money if I left today. The business is already making over 150 grand in profit a year, which is around what I was making as an engineer anyways. That's when I decided to leave and take that, leap of faith.
When you make more money in your side job than you do at your regular job, that is called a clue.
Pretty strong one.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love that. So, what are some of the biggest sacrifices you had to make in order to make this dream come true for you?
The biggest sacrifices while building was one, working a lot. Especially if you're working as a senior sales engineer and running a business. I was working like 12-hour days, 6 days a week in those first like 3 years. Like,
Yeah.
and just like on the bridge of like burnout all the time. Like I didn't get to burnout very many times. I got burnout once during those 3.5 years, but you're always kind of like playing with the edge. And so you have to just be really mindful of like sleep and working out and food and just finding that real balance and saying no to a lot of things, right? Because
Yeah.
you'll have to hang out with your friends less. You'll have to do a lot less things because you just don't have enough time. Um, Kind of got lucky during the time because we were in COVID for a bit. So you couldn't even hang out with your friends if you wanted to. So there's a bit of that as well.
Yeah, for sure. Was your family supportive of this entrepreneurial path?
Not, I mean, they were, but in a way that was like do it in a protective way. So obviously I come from if people can see videos, obviously immigrant parents. And my parents, my dad's an accountant, so very, very risk averse. I'm risk averse, but he's like ultra risk averse. And he was my accountant at the time. So he's always just like, hey, make sure you keep your engineering job as you're doing this. It's good that you're making some side money. Because he saw like in the first year, I think I made like 60,000
Hmm.
in my business. And then it kind of was growing a little bit more. By year three, by the end of year four, when I said like, hey, I think I'm leaving the engineering job, he was like supportive at that point because he already saw the numbers,
Yeah.
being the accountant, right? But it took time for him to see like, oh, he's actually making more money doing this than that. And for him, that was like more of a comfort thing where he's like, yeah, go do it. And the risk kind of went away.
That's that's pretty cool. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. That's cool. What would you say your mission is right now?
I have two. I mean, mission in terms of the business is to make
Hmm.
life-changing business connections that allow the
Hmm.
businesses to move forward. So that's on the business side of things. My personal mission is to help 1 million people understand how to do deep human connection, both in their personal and business lives.
Hmm.
Having connected with over 4,000 people just in the course of like business owners and people I've met, I found that my strength is in just human connection and understanding humans quite well and then how to connect humans. So I reverse engineered how I did that. And so I kind of have these two goals and missions.
That's great. So along the way, it's a roller coaster. What would you say was your biggest rock bottom moment, and how did you navigate your way through that?
Oh, there's so many that come from every single direction, depending on what level of entrepreneur you are. The rock bottoms just get bigger because you get to take on more.
Yeah.
But the one that, as soon as you kind of talk about it, is around, it was just around that 4 year mark. So I had left my full-time job. About 4 months later, we get hit with the interest rate hikes. And so interest rate hikes then affect everyone's interest rate, especially people who borrowed from the government to start, buy a business. And so within 1 month, I had about 11 customers churn. And that's like the equivalent of having like a whole year worth of customers churn, right? And so I quit my job. My wife and I were moving to the Netherlands internationally in like 3 months. So my wife is going from a lawyer to then making no money. So we went down from three incomes that were six figures each down
Mm-hmm.
to one income that was six figures and declining at the time. So that was really, really hard mentally because I was literally ripping everything from underneath me and trying a whole new thing. Um, Took me a little bit of time to get back into like the right mental space and right energy for it. It took about a month. But it ended up turning out that that year was the best year that I had up to that point, even with that like massive 25% downturn for me at that.
Wow. Wow. We've got less than 1 minute to our break. What do you think is the most expensive mistake you've ever made?
Uh, Putting money towards us SEO essentially for two years.
So, SEO mistakes that you made or having to learn it?
So going through it, we had built up like a keyword plan with the first SEO company that I had, and I didn't pay enough attention to the keywords that we were trying to target. So we are trying to work and rank towards keywords that actually didn't matter for the bottom line of the business. And so that was about like 2.5, 3 years into the business that I was like, oh, I could have done better with that piece.
Wow. Okay, well, that sounds great. Well, we will come back after our break. This is Success Profiles Radio. My very special guest this week is Badad Jamshidi, and we will talk more about matchmaking and marketing and what we can do. We'll be right back. This is Success Profiles Radio. Okay, commercials are playing in the background. We can talk amongst ourselves.
Okay, cool. Excellent. How long is the commercials typically for?
About a minute and a half, maybe or so.
Okay, cool. Yeah, the time was winding down. Like, how deep of an answer can I give on the SEO?
Right. And I wasn't sure whether to ask that or not, but that's sort of with a minute left. That's sort of the no man's land. It's like, do I or don't I? But
Yeah, 100%. I was like, don't
yeah,
give too long of an answer so he can get to his break.
yeah. So how did you find me?
My assistant is just basically doing a lot of outreach and categorizing podcasts and reaching out to people and seeing people who have good reviews on their podcast. So essentially, that's how I found you.
Good. Well, hopefully you'll leave a 5-star review for us.
For sure, I will.
Success
Yeah,
Profiles Radio, Apple Podcasts, and iTunes.
I'm happy to. I can't get into my iTunes, but Spotify and stuff I can always leave reviews on. So
Yeah, do that on Spotify. You can click on the 5 stars there.
yeah, easy, no problem.
Wonderful. Yeah. Reviews do help.
I don't know how long a minute and a half is anymore. Time goes by so fast.
When it's ready, Roy will crank the music up and we'll know.
Okay, that's
Let's get
Like
back
right
to the
now.
show. This is Success Profiles Radio. And here again is your host, Brian K. Wright.
And we are back. This is Success Profiles Radio. If you've not downloaded and subscribed to Success Profiles Radio on Apple Podcasts or iTunes, please do that. You can also find us on Spotify, Amazon, Audible, iHeartRadio, and everywhere you can hear great shows like this. Leave a 5-star review. That would mean a lot. My very special guest this week is Badad Jamshidi, and I do want to ask how you latched onto the idea of being a marketing broker. It would seem like this is a pretty rare niche.
Yeah, there's not many people in the world that do it. And once you get into it, you start realizing why. But I kind of got into it because I was building like the websites, the Google Ads, and the SEO myself, but I didn't really enjoy it. And a friend of mine had told me, hey, if you pass me off the website projects, we'll do them and we'll give you a referral feedback that I would have paid my salespeople anyways. So I was like, interesting. I was interested in the idea of passive income, and that sounded pretty passive to me. So I started making introductions, and then I started finding, oh, he's really good at building websites, but he's terrible at Google Ads and SEO. And so I thought, well, let me go find someone that's good at maybe all three. And so I started talking to more and more agencies and started realizing like, oh, agencies aren't good at everything. They're good at very specific things. And they all say they're good at everything, but they're not. And when I got to about 400 to 500 of them, I was like, oh, this one that I'm trying to find, this needle in the haystack doesn't exist. This is a space where you need to actually piece together the puzzle based on what a customer needs and what stage they're at. And so I kind of became this marketing broker because I was always trying to find that full service agency that could do everything.
Yeah. So, what are some of the hazards of I'll just find my own?
Oh gosh. So I mean, if you don't have a strong network, number one, you're just not going to get the right number of people, the right agencies in the first place. So you might interview 3 to 5 people, but they might all be below average. And what that means in the marketing world is you get no results. So you'll spend 3, 5, 10, $20,000, sometimes a month, and the results won't speak for themselves. And so you just end up in a bad place. And usually it takes a business 3 to 5 tries before they find one good marketing agency. And if you think about the time that it takes to bring on a marketing agency, ramp them up, and then fire them, and then do it all over again, it could take you almost 2 to 2.5 years to try to find a good marketing partner.
Absolutely. And you might have a well meaning friend or two who says, oh, well, I use so and so. Why don't you use them too? But that doesn't mean that your needs are their needs.
That's exactly it. Yeah. And most businesses need more than one partner too, right? They think it's the one agency, but it's no, like a lot of the larger businesses that are in the 7, 8 figure space, like they have 3 to 10 partners sometimes, right? Depending on what needs to be done and which channels need to be executed on.
Yeah, for sure. So, what does it take to be a great matchmaker?
I think there's a lot of things. One is you need to understand humans and be able to ask really good questions. So for me, a matchmaker in this marketing broker space is one, you need to understand business, which is what I used to do at TELUS. Talk to over 500 businesses just on that front, of understanding the model, where they're at, who they have for internal resources, what are the personalities that we're dealing with within the business. And then on the marketing agency side, what to look for, right? There's so many marketing agencies, just from website agencies to paid ad agencies, and understanding what to look for. So for example, if you're looking for like a website agency, there's people that will build off templates, and then there's people that will do custom, and then people that have different levels of copywriters. Are they in-house? Are they outsourced? Are they just contracts? Or is it just AI now? Right? There's so many things to look for, and depending on um, understanding the business and where they're at, and then matchmaking them with the right size marketing partner at the right price point is where a lot of the genius kind of lies. And
Hmm.
setting expectations. Because a lot of the times I'll have businesses come in and they have expectations that don't make a lot of sense for the channels they're about to embark. They'll be like, well, we want to run Google ads and we want to see profit in the next 2 months. It's like, that's not how that works.
No,
Here's how it works, and here's what you have to be mentally prepared for. Otherwise, it's just going to fail.
absolutely. So, how can fractional CMOs help companies build the right marketing strategy?
Yeah. So when it comes to fractional CMOs, you have to be a business that's doing at least 7 figures. Like I'm talking 3 to 5 millions plus. Otherwise, it's just too early for you to hire a fractional CMO. They do cost quite a bit. But most businesses that have gotten into that range, that $3 to $10 million range, they have product market fit. They've thrown a bunch of things at the wall, so it ends up working, but they don't know how to get to that next level of scale, which is where a fractional CMO comes in to actually build out a marketing strategy that they go, based on your business goals, here's the marketing strategy we're going to run. Based on this, these are the channels we're going to be looking at. And based on the channels we're going to look at, these are the KPIs that matter. And so you have something to measure against. And a lot
Hmm.
of the times at that range, they can also help hone in your messaging. So you're not putting out like 10 messages at once, but you're really putting out 1 to 3 that really resonates with your target audience.
Absolutely. So, give us some examples of the kinds of things you help clients with, or that your clients want your help with.
Yeah, so an example would be we had an e-commerce business come to us. They have about 12 retail stores. They have an online store. They're in the women's fashion space. And they were kind of at a point where they're like, hey, we're not really able to grow the way that we want to anymore. We're kind of like stagnant. And after just kind of talking to them, they thought they understood their ICP because they thought they knew who was walking into their stores. It was typically, women between the ages of 20 and 28 years old. They like new fashion, like trying the new things. When we actually brought in a fractional CMO and we did market research, it ended up that their actual highest paying customers and the ones that would come out more are actually between the ages of 38 and 48. So totally different demographic. And
Hmm.
so it was like, hey, you're modeling all these young women within your website, but you're not really resonating with the people that are spending the most amount of money with you that are coming back the most often. And so they actually had to change even their down to their imagery and their messaging to kind of get that aligned. And then
Yeah.
once they had that figured out, I was working with the fractional CMO to basically start bringing in people to help execute on the paid plans, like Google ads, Facebook ads, retention marketing on the email front. And so we started helping plug in a lot of those partners, and they started seeing great growth over the next year, year and a half.
So, how do you figure out that you're not reaching the market that you think you're reaching?
So, I mean, if you're already in that 7 figure space, you have a ton of customers. So you start doing market research within your own target customers. So you start asking those questions. Um, when it comes to the market research, you go, well, why are you buying from us? What brings you into our store? Asking all the underlying questions, and people will tell you what actually matters to them, right? It allows them to stand out at work, for example, because they get this one of a kind type of clothing, because that specific clothing brand brings in things every couple of months and then it's done. And so women love having that one of a kind like dress that they'd be complimented on at work. And so when you do that market research, people will tell you what's important to you, and then you can target your messaging. And it even comes down to like, as people walk into the stores and they're in their stores, you can do surveys on site, right? Or have people come on site and watch people go through the buying journey itself, right? How fast did your people talk to them? What did they like about it? Did they like the experience? So there's all this information that can get gathered. And then based on that, they basically segment all that information and go, here are your target ICPs, your ideal customer profiles. Here's what they care about. Now, this is how you hone in the messaging for these people.
Yeah. What about focus groups? How valuable are they for you? Or do you do that in your work?
The fractional CMOs will, but it depends on the type of engagement, right? Because focus groups do cost more money. You got to bring people in, all that different kind of stuff. So it depends on the stage of business that you're at, how much you're willing to invest in market research. But a lot of times you might even just be able to do like live one-on-one calls with your customers, give them $25, $50 on Amazon, or a Starbucks gift card, and you'll be able to get a ton of information that way too. So there's multiple levels that you could do it at.
Absolutely. So tell us right now, what is your website in case people do want to look around while we're talking?
Yeah, so my website is www.cjammarketing.com. So CJAM marketing.com.
Fantastic. So let's talk about some of the areas of expertise. I mean, obviously you do marketing, but marketing is such a big word. That could be direct mail, it could be telemarketing, it could be online marketing, it could be paid ads, it could be a lot. So do you do any and all of those things?
Yeah, so I don't do them all myself, which is
Right.
why I have partners, right? So anything that my partners can do, essentially, I can help support on.
Yes.
So these are areas from like finding a fractional CMO to building up websites or branding, paid ads, SEO, influencer marketing, social media. All of these underlying channels are things I can support because I will have the partners in my network. And when you use a marketing broker, typically they're in other marketing networks as well. So these are networks that other businesses can't get into, but it's like a marketing environment. So you'll have, a network of fractional CMOs or other types of fractionals, and there's like 10,000 people in there, right? Or you're in marketing agency communities, and there's like 900 in each one. So you get access to a lot of people just through having that network, right?
Absolutely. And you and your partners, you can find partners who are really good at social media marketing too, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it will depend because social media is always very nuanced, right? Like if you are an e-commerce business, a lot of the times you don't want to be spending, $7,000 to $12,000 on social media marketing because it costs a lot to do videos and all that work and the strategy. So sometimes my recommendation will come down to, I don't think it makes sense to spend money on agencies. You should actually just hire people inside your company through contractors, right? So it's not always like outsourced makes more sense. Sometimes it actually makes sense to bring things in-house. And so I'm always kind of like that support to be like, what makes sense for the business that's in front of me.
Absolutely. When does it make sense to use pay-per-click? I know you've got partners who are really good at that too, but you could waste a lot of time and money trying to trial and error that thing yourself.
Yeah, so pay-per-click, it depends on the different types of channels. Like if you're going to Google, like typically if you're targeting certain keywords where people need something pretty quick, like emergency dental care, my roof is leaking, lawyers, like that type of stuff. There's a reason why it's so expensive is because when people are there, they're ready to buy, right?
Yeah.
So if you have high intent in your business and you know that people are essentially the first person they call if they have a good experience, they're going to be hiring, it makes sense to be spending money there. If you're doing things on like Facebook ads and things like that, there's different strategies there, right? There's people that are selling courses. And so there's different levels of funnels they'll build so that they can sell those courses. Maybe they're selling something that's free initially to get people on an email list and then they upsell them afterwards, or they're sending someone to a webinar. It really just will depend when it comes to pay-per-click advertising, what your business is, what channel makes the most sense, and which funnels make the most sense to run, but also making sure you have some budget for 3 to 12 months to actually be testing because it takes some time.
Yeah. Tell us about some case studies where SEO worked out really well.
Yeah, so I have a customer that's in the voice over IP space, so voice services for home, residential, and they actually have a lot of other things that they sell on top. They came to me thinking, hey, look, we have some SEO foundation, but we don't have a lot. So they worked with one of my SEO companies. over the course of about a year, they increased their paid traffic by 30%. And this wasn't a website that was getting, 10,000 clicks. They were getting like 700,000 clicks a month already. But a 30% increase on that. And the SEO agency was working on basically the CRO of the website. So conversion rate optimization, like how do we actually get people to convert better when they're coming onto our blogs or our articles or certain pages on the website so that they actually, come in for a demo or they actually subscribe for the service. And so they were actually able to also increase the conversion rate optimization on the website while increasing the traffic. So for them, the revenue was just consistently going up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great. You also help people with the creative aspect, or at least you have partners that can help people with the creative aspect. And that encompasses a lot of things too, like branding, for example. Branding can be really elusive. How do you know if you have a good brand, or how do you do that?
I think great branding is two things. It has to elicit an emotion and it has to be very memorable. So when you have good branding, like I won't go to your website and go to another person's website and go your competitor's website and be like, I don't know the difference between these two, right?
Yeah.
Like what makes you really stand out? And you might say, Beta, like my business is an accounting business. How does that really make me stand out? I mean,
Right.
there are ways that you can find out what you do uniquely differently than other accounting firms. For example, there was an accounting firm that as my partners were doing the branding exercise, they're like, yeah, we don't really do that much different. We do this and that and blah blah blah. But they didn't say like, oh, our clients have access to the partners. Like anytime they want to reach out to the partners, they can. And so it's not like you have to talk to my assistant to get to me. And this was a large accounting firm too, right? And so they're like, that's part of your brand, the fact that you can actually reach the partners and we're not just going to pass you down to someone else within our team and just we'll forget about you, right? And so you can use that as a part of your brand and make yourself stand out. Because then what that means that other accounting businesses have to do is change the way they communicate with their customers to try to even match you, right?
Right. Right. Exactly. We've got less than 2 minutes to our next break. Photography is a very interesting piece in your marketing plan too, because just because your uncle is really good at photography doesn't mean that he can help you elicit the best aspects of your business. And just because your friend is a wedding photographer doesn't mean that they can help you with your business either. So what do you look for in a good photographer for your branding?
Yeah, so for me, I don't work with a ton of photographers, but I'm going through this personally myself, so I'm happy to share some insights there.
Yes.
So I have a consultant in my network that kind of talks to you, understands your brand, and then goes, based on that, these are the types of photos you need, right? So if my personal brand, for example, is around human connection and how to bring humans together, there's a certain way you hold your face, a certain way you smile, a certain way you bring people in. And he basically created an entire guideline of like, these are the types of photos you need for that personal brand. And those photos are going to be different than the professional photos for my business brand, right? The business brand is a little bit different. It's more bold, it's more confident, it has different aspects to it. So when you have a photographer, they need to understand these nuances, and a lot of photographers don't. I just recently hired one for a workshop that I was doing, so she could take photos of the workshop and things like that. And she was taking photos with me afterwards, and she made me look very confident and bold, and like don't mess with me kind of thing. And after we got the photos back, I was like, oh, these are kind of harsh. Like I look like a mean person, and I'm not a mean person,
Right.
especially for my personal brand. And so when I reached out to her, I said, hey, we need actually more like warming, inviting photos because I want to connect with people. And we did a follow-up a week later, and the photos are drastically different. But it shows you that as a photographer, she understood how to make you bold and the person who's doing really well, the alpha male. But then she also knew how to pull it back and go, here's the human connection side.
Fantastic. And we're coming up against our break. This is Success Profiles Radio. We will be right back. And this is why I'm glad we have our video on.
Yeah,
I can just
100%.
do this without interrupting you and you see me. So,
Excellent. Because I saw the minute and then I got lost. This is perfect. Good
oh,
job.
no, it's totally fine. It's totally fine. Long before we did this on Zoom, we were just doing this on Skype. And sometimes, God bless my guests, sometimes I would have people who would talk forever and ever and ever. And I only get to ask like maybe 8 questions in the entire hour. I'm like, ooh, well, okay.
Yeah, that's fair. How are you liking my answers? Are they too long, too
Oh,
short?
no, you're great. You're
Cool.
absolutely fine.
Cool.
In
Very
fact,
cool.
I was on your website. So when I'm asking about all these different services that you help people with, that's where I'm getting this from.
Oh, I
So
love it.
I did that research. I'm basically priming people to visit your website and to see, oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I love it. It's really good.
I'll ask you about video next. I'll ask you about, the development side of it, app development, web
Yeah.
development, e-commerce. and we'll talk about market research a little bit. Then I'll ask you some other stuff too.
Sounds good. I like it.
Yeah. So
I
you're
like
in
it.
Canada, right?
Yeah, yourself?
I'm in Iowa.
Iowa. Oh, cool. I've been to Iowa. Have I? No, I have not. Iowa.
No,
I don't. No, I went to Idaho. That's different.
it is different. Iowa has corn. Idaho has potatoes.
Okay.
Idaho is over by Washington.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm below Minnesota.
Makes sense. Makes
Where in
sense.
Canada are you?
Vancouver, Canada.
Oh, I would love, that's on my bucket list.
Uh,
I would
whenever you
love to go to
come,
Vancouver.
let me know if you ever end up here. It's coming though, obviously a little bit more in the spring and summer, but
So let's get back to the show. This is Success Profiles Radio. And here again is your host, Brian K. Wright.
And we are back. This is Success Profiles Radio. My very special guest this week is Badad Jamshidi. And if you've not subscribed to Ultimate Achievers Magazine, you can go to ultimateachieversmagazine.com. It is a monthly digital publication that we've been doing since December 2017. If you subscribe now, you can read every single issue we've ever done. And we are working on the February issue right now, and we hope to be done with that one in the next week to 10 days. Cannot wait to share it with you. Once again, go subscribe at ultimateachieversmagazine.com. And we're talking about some of the things that you help clients with in terms of partnering them with the appropriate agency, because every agency has, or every company has a different need. There is certainly not one size fits all. We've talked about marketing, we've talked about social media, we've talked about pay-per-click, we've talked about branding and photography. Let's talk about video. What do you do if you're working with a client who maybe isn't great on video? I mean, are there some video agencies out there who are much better at bringing out the shyness, or you probably know
yeah.
where I'm going, right? I mean, some people just are more comfortable in front of a camera than others. So how do you find the right agency to work with that timid client?
Yeah, I mean, if you're on the timid side of things, and let's say you have a business, maybe you'll put other people on camera, so you'll do a little bit of a talk because you don't might not be as comfortable in front of the camera,
Mm-hmm.
and then bring in other members of the team that might enjoy it more confidence aspect of it. Typically, the timid clients don't want to do a lot of video anyway, so I would say that's like not the primary channels, but everyone needs a commercial for their website usually,
Sure.
right? And so when you're working with an agency, you're looking for agencies that have worked with a ton of clients, worked with and have a wide variety of different examples to show you, right? Not just like one type of video. You're looking for breadth of work, which then will tell you they can work with different types of services, different types of people. It gives you more of a sense on how good that video agency will be. If you only get one or two examples, that's
Sure.
probably.
Yeah, if you have an example, that'd be great.
Oh no, I meant if you only get one or two examples from the video agency,
Oh, got it.
then it's likely going to be a problem. But if they're giving you like, hey, here's like 10 different examples, what do you need? We have all these different aspects. You can likely tell that they've been around for a while and they've done it for quite a while.
Yeah, I've got a really good friend who has a corporate videography company pivoting from wedding videography, and he's brilliant. And he's got one corporate client where sometimes what the client thinks they need isn't really what's going to work the best. How do you help someone get over themselves that way?
Yeah. That's tough. I mean, that's part of my like vetting process where I'm like, hey, based on what you're trying to do, this is the expectations you need to have. And when you give those expectations, you can tell if someone's like a little bit more growth minded, where they go, okay, yeah, I might not know the most about this. Like I'm actually going to trust the professional on it
Mm-hmm.
and kind of let them guide.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, you need to know what your business goal is. So if your business goal is, I want to use this video so I can get more business, then you're hiring an agency that can help you build that type of video and then trusting them with it, versus trying to guide everything yourself. Because at the end of the day, like if you keep fighting, an agency is just going to be like, all right, we'll give you what you want. It's probably not going to do what you need, but we're not going to sit here and change your mind. Right? There's only
Right.
so much friction that someone will give because they're afraid of also losing the business if they push too hard.
Exactly. So you also help with the development side. You've got partners who are really good at app development. How do you know if you should have an app?
Oh gosh, that's quite a heavy question. It really depends on the business.
Yeah.
The development side of things are quite cool because one aspect is the app side of things. I would say if you're ready for an app, is if you have a large user base, you need to be in constant contact with them, and you have a way of creating a marketing channel or effort that the app can lead into, and then having, whether it's the subscription service, but also higher ticket items underneath, because apps are expensive to build and to run,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to the marketing aspect. When you start thinking about more on the development side, I mean, we can talk about web development stuff, which we already all most understand, but there's a whole bunch of development that can be done on the operational side. Like, are there things that you're doing manually that could be shifted into development project that then no longer needs that person to do that role. They can be used for something else. You hear AI come up a lot, but I'm just talking even basic automations like order entry for a lot of businesses is manual still, right? And someone might cost, $60,000 to $80,000 a year to do that type of work, and it's 50% of what they do. That's where you start thinking about more development projects and start bringing in a development agency to help.
Absolutely. And let's talk about web development for a little bit. How do you know how fancy you should get? I mean, some people want their websites to actually bring in business, and others want to use it more for branding. So, how do you know who to pair someone up with?
Yeah, so that depends on the stage of business.
Yeah.
If you're kind of like starting out, use a template, use AI-based websites, like just get something up there so when people search you, it looks like you have a legit business. And having a good foundational website now is easier and easier to do. So your website shouldn't look like it's from 1995.
Right.
It can be updated pretty quickly. Once you
Absolutely.
start kind of getting to that like 7-figure, 8-figure range, branding, messaging, all the user layout, user experience, that becomes way more important. And that's when the websites start getting more expensive, right? You're starting to work with much higher level partners who are thinking about all aspects of the business. And those websites can cost anywhere from $50,000 and up, right?
Yeah.
So you can start at the template base where it's like, around $5,000 on average. Your mid tier starts being between like the 10 and 25,000, and those websites can usually last for about 5 years. And then you start getting into, okay, now we need to get into the targeting and getting really good. Case in point, one of my customers recently, they just built out a $50,000 10-page website, but they're going for $1 billion exit.
Oh,
So this website needs to be in front of investors. It needs to be in front of people that are ready to buy this business. And so
yeah.
they were prepared to spend money to make sure that everything was aligned appropriately from brand to messaging to what it looked like, and the synchronicity of all that together.
And you probably have partners for any purpose that you need. If you have someone who needs a website to go in front of investors, you've got a partner for that. If you've got someone who just, wants to, they're a flower shop and I just want to shop for something online, you've got a partner who can help do that.
Exactly. Yeah. And the different levels. And the biggest thing is then saying, hey, this is the budget. This is likelihood of the level of website you're going to get. Are you okay with that? Because a lot of the times people will say, oh yeah, they'll tell you, we'll do you a $6,000 website. And then they get the website and they go, this is not what I wanted. And it's like, yeah, because the website you truly wanted and you were sharing with them was 15,000 and plus. Now you just wasted 6 and now you're gonna have to redo it in the next year because you didn't get what you wanted, right?
Yeah. So what happens if you pair someone with a partner that didn't work out? Do you help them find someone else if they let you?
Yeah, 100%. So I'm very in touch with my customers. Like once they are actually working with a partner and I'm getting a lot of feedback, this is also how I know certain partners are really good and what they're really good at. But my matches work 70% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's way better than when you're working with a business owner doing themselves. Less than 5% of the time they get it right. And
Yeah.
so for me, it's like, hey, open communication. I've vetted these people. I've worked with certain people. So I give as much background as I possibly can. I've never really had a customer come back to me and be upset with me because I'm so upfront about how everything is set up and the expectation setting. And people just understand that sometimes the relationships don't work, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. So if someone is planning on hiring a marketing agency, what mindset shift does an owner need to succeed with an agency?
So the fundamental aspect of like marketing really comes down to you need to understand that it takes time, right? You have to do iterations, you have to think big picture, you have to shift and move. That's really important. Number one, to have a marketing mindset of a long-term thinking. Number two is when you're working with an agency, you need to be there to guide as well, right? Like you don't need to be a micromanager, but you do need to tell them about your business, the background, giving them the answers they need. A lot of the times, like I've seen communication breakdown, which is like one of the biggest things to make the relationship work is being able to communicate fast with each other. Because the marketing agency wants to move fast, but if they're getting a response from you every 3 or 4 days, how fast can they move? And if you're paying them a monthly retainer, and a 3 or 4 day turnaround, it's a big waste of money. So you got to make sure you have the cycles to give attention to the marketing agencies. And if you don't have them yourself, like hire someone internally as a marketing director or someone to be that bridge for you so that they can get the answers back fast and you're getting the most return on your investment.
Absolutely. So when you pair an agency with a client, do you make the introduction, then let the client company interview the agency, or is it pretty much we're ready to go?
Yeah, no. So I always want to give my customers options.
Yeah.
So whenever a client comes to me, I'll talk to them, understand their business, see what they need. And then I go to my network and say, based on what we talked about, here's the customer's background. Are you a fit? And if I feel that the agency is a fit, I'll add them to the list. If I feel like I need to have a further conversation, I'll jump on a call, get further background, get examples. And then if they still fit, then I'll give them to the customer. And the customer decides at that point, once they get my email, hey, Bedad, I'd love to talk to these people. I make an introduction via email. They set up a time, talk to them, interview them, vet them themselves, and then decide if they want to work with them.
Absolutely. This whole thing feels almost like an employment agency. It's not an employment agency, but I'm thinking I worked with a company where we looked for candidates and we used employment agencies, and you are kind of sort of like that because you are trying to pair the right partner with the right client.
Exactly. Yeah. It's very similar to like a recruitment agency, except no recruitment agency helps you find marketing agencies.
No. So what are some of the key questions that every business should be asking before choosing an agency? I mean, what should they have nailed down?
Yeah, so one is you need to understand your business goals, like where you're headed, right? So if a business is trying to go from, let's say, 1 million to 1.5 million in a year, that's a very different business strategy than trying to go from 1 million to 5 million, right?
Yeah.
You need to first understand where you're headed as a business.
Mm-hmm.
Once you know that, then you start figuring out, okay, what's my marketing strategy? And then once you know the marketing strategy and you know the channels you want to use, that's when you start looking for marketing agencies. What a lot of businesses do, they do that differently. Well, they'll just go try to hire a marketing agency. Like someone told me to go do SEO. So I'm just going to go talk to the person that does SEO. They're going to sell you SEO. And at the end of the day, you're like, well, this didn't get you my business goals because you just chose the wrong channel right from the beginning. So that's kind of like number one. Number two is once you start vetting agencies, look for a couple like key red flags. If an agency hasn't been around for about 5 years, that's a pretty big red flag for me. Because it takes time to build systems and processes and people and figure out who you really can help within a marketing agency, right? Because they're growing businesses as well. So being aware of that. Two, when you're meeting marketing agencies, you need to make sure that you vet quite a few. Like a lot of people will talk 2 to 3 marketing agencies and call it a day. It takes me about 15 marketing agencies before I find one that I like. And so people are just not vetting enough people off the offset.
Wow. So let's talk about some more red flags. You talked about an agency that's not been around very long. You've also talked about not interviewing enough agencies before you pick one. What else would be a big red flag? Someone who promises the moon and doesn't deliver?
When someone says that they're a full service marketing agency, that's a massive red flag to me because there's no agency that can do everything in the mid-market space. So if you hear an agency say that, just ask the question straight up. Hey, what are the 1 to 3 things that you're really good at? And what are the things that you do off the side of your desk? And their tone will change.
Fantastic. We are coming up against our final break. I cannot believe how quickly we are going today. We are talking about marketing and partnering up your business with the right marketing agency that can help you grow, build, and scale. And we are with Bedad Jamshidi. We'll be right back after the break. This is fun.
Yeah. I like the breaks in between too.
Me too.
Not many do it.
Yeah, well, this is a live show, so.
That's beautiful. How long have you been doing this for?
14 years.
Wow.
I have over 600. I have over 630 episodes.
That's a lot of episodes. That's 630 hours of live streaming.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool. You must have met a lot of people and learn a lot from it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And this is the first time I've ever talked to someone who does what you do. So this was brand new. I mean, I sometimes, there have been times where I've interviewed a number of experts who are in the same industry. So I kind of have a pretty good idea what kinds of things to ask. But this was different and it was fun. So I am enjoying this.
Oh, me too. I love it. I love that you're enjoying it and that it's something different.
Yeah. That's wonderful.
And you do business coaching, I'm understanding?
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Well, I help people write their books.
Okay.
And I also do magazine publishing. I've got my magazine.
This is Success Profiles Radio. And here again is your host, Brian K. Wright.
And we are back. This is Success Profiles Radio. If you've been hearing the commercials, during our breaks, you know that I help people write their books, whether it's ghostwriting, whether it's coaching you through you writing your book, whether it's you being done with your book but needing an editor and someone to publish it for you. I can join you in your journey wherever you are. And if you haven't started yet, I'd love to have that conversation with you just to see how your idea would work and if it would be a great idea for us to work together. I would love to do that. Free consultation. Just go to callwithbrian.com. And Brian, of course, is Brian, callwithbrian.com. I'd love to have that conversation with you as soon as you'd like. So we are talking with Bedad Jamshidi, and we are talking about finding a marketing agency to help you build and scale your business. But if you're trying to do it yourself, you could go through a lot of bad scenarios. And so my very special guest is good at helping you find exactly what you need so you don't have to waste a lot of time and money trying to do the trial and error thing all by yourself. So if someone out there already has a marketing agency that they work with, how do they know that they're doing the right thing? How do we know that they're not being taken advantage of?
Yeah, so there's kind of two aspects. If you have a good understanding of marketing, I think you can get a good sense of like when they're hitting their ceiling and what their potential is. Like you'll get the sense. You're like, okay, there's no new ideas coming down. They're not really trying anything differently, and my results are kind of like, deteriorating over time. Two, if you don't know, bring an outside consultant in. Whether you want to hire a marketing bro to come take a look, or you're hiring a fractional CMO, or just someone hourly to be like, can you come and take a look at my business, what we're doing, and what the marketing agency is doing, and if they're doing a good job? That's just a good way to just get a sense or a pulse. And you always want to be doing this every 6 to 12 months, just to keep people on their toes when they're working with your business.
Absolutely. So do you help people hire marketing teams for their businesses?
So on that front, I've become more of a recruiter. So what I've actually done is I've worked with a couple in-house recruiters. So I have about 3 that I know that I trust. And so a lot of the times if I'm talking to a customer, I'm like, this is a much better in-house role than it is an outsourced role. I would actually just make intros into the in-house recruiters who help them hire it for that role in-house.
Oh, I love that. So you've done lots and lots of reading and you've invested lots and lots of money in your professional training, as we all should if we want to be in the top, 5, 10% or 1% of what we do. What are some of the best insights you've gained through what you've read and what you've learned?
Oh, this is I love this question. This is one of my favorite questions. The first thing that kind of jumps into my head, I took a conflict resolution course many, many years ago at the Justice Institute of BC. This is where police officers and firefighters and those guys learn conflict resolution training. I think that was actually one of the most useful courses to take because you use that in every single aspect of your life, whether it's with your customers or your significant other or just anyone you have an argument with. You just learn how to diffuse conflict. So that was like really, really great. The other things that I kind of learned from books is like that you need to have a really strong understanding of yourself. If you don't, you're gonna, one, it's harder to connect with people. 2, if you don't understand yourself, you end up being very reactive to a lot of things you do in life versus being proactive. And so those are kind of like the 2 biggest takeaways. It's like emotional intelligence and how to deal with conflict resolution. I have so many other things I've learned, but those are the 2 that jump out at me right away.
Well, those are all very important skills because, if you can't resolve a conflict with someone, you're going to have a real tough time in life. And if you are not emotionally intelligent, you will draw yourself and others into unwanted drama. And some people just live for that. I just choose to say, get out of here, go over there. I don't want to deal with any of your stuff because it doesn't serve me. So I would love, we've talked a little bit about some success stories, but what are maybe a couple of your very favorite client success stories that you've ever worked with?
Yeah, one of my favorite client success stories. So me and him met a while ago. He's a serial entrepreneur. And in the beginning, we kind of helped his business with some social media work. And he comes to me about a year and a half later and goes, Bedad, I have this opportunity. It's probably going to be 5 or 6 months. I need the right people essentially right now. Who do you got? And essentially, he ran multiple pharmacies. He runs multiple different types of businesses, but one aspect was the pharmacy space. And during COVID, they were giving out free COVID tests. And the way that they made money on those free COVID tests was that anytime they had a free COVID test go out to someone, their company would make, $30 off each one. So there's an incentive for it. And so I brought him a conversion rate optimization specialist, a copywriter, 2 influencer marketing agencies, and an ads agency. And we just ran ads and influencer marketing campaigns within a week, like we got started and going. And he said, Bedad, I didn't realize this till about 6, 7 months later. He's like, do you know how much we made off that? And by we, he means him. He made $10 million in revenue across that 5 to 6 months of running that and 3 million in profit,
Wow.
which was crazy. And it's all because he just literally called me up and said, "This is what I need." And I was like, "Here are the people you should work with." Um, it's crazy to hear that kind of success story.
That's that's absolutely incredible. What are the top values that you run your business by?
So integrity is a massive one for me. Connection, doing the right thing, and always growing and learning. It's part of my DNA, and it's part of my company's DNA and my team.
Fantastic. So, do you preach your core values every single day to drill it into them? How do you use your core values to build your culture?
Yeah, so a lot of the times if someone gives me something that's like not done at their highest capacity, I go, "Hey, remember when we do the right things always? Does this feel like the right thing?" And the answer typically will be like, "No, I could have done better." It's like, okay, then go do it, and then come back and tell me what it looks like after the fact. And so you just kind of just use it in every day where you're like, okay, these are the values. Are you living by them? And if not, calling them out, and even have my team call me out on it if I'm missing something at some point. Um,
Yeah. I love the fact that you let your team call you out too, because if you want your core values to be a really integral part of your culture, you have to be willing to let your team members call each other out. In fact, they do self police, don't they?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, people will feel the inauthenticity too, right? Like if you're saying something, you're not doing it yourself. They go, "Why would I do it?" Like
Hmm.
you have to live it yourself, otherwise it doesn't work.
Absolutely. How do you decide who you want to work with on your team? I mean, do you have criteria for that?
How do I decide who I bring onto my team or within
Yes.
the partner network?
Onto your team, your team, your
Yeah,
company.
so I have a whole interview guide. So when I used to work at TELUS, I learned very quickly that they didn't just like hire for technical ability, they hired for values. And so they had questions revolving around the values. And so I basically just, I mean, I've used ChatGPT to be like, "Hey, these are my core values. What questions should I be asking?" And it's part of the interview process. Um, and you see how people answer to those questions. And then when they do work with you, let's say they pass the initial interview, then you're looking for, okay, do those values align as they're doing their work?
Yeah, absolutely. So what are your top productivity tips? Because you get a lot of stuff done during the day.
Yeah, so I mean, my productivity tips are like deep work, like always. I have set aside time for deep work. I've set aside time for calls. Like I'm very organized in that fashion. I have whenever I need to do something, like and it's not something I want to put into a to-do list, I'll actually throw it into my calendar in a certain part in the morning where I'm like, I need to get this thing done. And so I leave blocks of time to get certain things finished. Anything that adds noise, I basically have a ClickUp area in my ClickUp where I'll say I need to do this project at some point, and I'll come back every week or every 2 weeks to go, is this project going to be moved up? Do I have time to do this? And it's working with my fractional CMO and my assistant and my team to decide, okay, what are the things we're going to take on for this next sprint,
Hmm.
and then try to everything else goes onto that list until it actually becomes higher priority.
I love that. We mentioned a little bit ago that you've read hundreds of books. What are your top, maybe two or three most influential books you've ever read or listened to?
Oh, so Chasing Daylight was a book that I've read about 3 times now, and it's a very simple book, but it just really shows you why life matters. And like we don't have a lot of time on Earth, and so that actually guides me quite a bit. So, KPMG, long story short, KPMG CEO ends up finding that he has 3 brain tumors and 4 months left to live. He writes a book from that time to the day he dies. Um,
Oh,
it's just a fascinating book for me to put life back into perspective.
wow.
Um, Another book would Make It Stick, which was like the science of learning and how to learn. And the biggest shift that I got from that was that just rereading things doesn't actually make you remember things better. It's the retention, the pulling and retrieving of that information that actually lets that stick. So it's changed the whole way that I do like webinars and presentations and remembering what to say and how to say it. I don't
Hmm.
just read over it. I actually work on the retrieval process because that actually creates like a stronger connection and it helps you learn faster.
Hmm.
Um, and then The Courage to Be Disliked was another book that I really like. It's on philosophy and all that stuff.
I've heard of that one recently. I've seen it on Audible. I haven't listened to the preview yet, and I haven't gotten it yet, and I'm just trying to weigh whether that's a book I want. So you are recommending it then?
I like that book. It gave me some pretty cool frameworks that I think about still, 4 or 5 years later, like vertical and horizontal relationships and how those intersect and where your part isn't a lot of it. There's some really cool stuff there.
Cool. Did you ever have any doubts about whether or not your business would take off for you?
Yes, I did. 3.5 years in. No, 3 years in. I didn't know if at the end of that year if I would keep doing this business because I was making about 4 grand a month, and so I had set a goal to make 7,500 by the end of that year, ongoing, and I actually 10x that year, uh,
Nice.
which was crazy. It was like, oh, the flywheel took effect. So that was a key pivot moment in time because I was just tired running 2 jobs, and working really, really hard.
Mhm.
And just for the audience, like, I mean, people who run business, we all go have our ebbs and flows in business. That's just part of business.
Yeah.
So even to this day, it's like, will this business exist in 10 years? I hope so. I'm going to do my best to do that.
So, what flipped the switch? Were some of the seeds you planted finally starting to grow out of the ground, metaphorically speaking?
In terms of like what shifted that year,
Yes.
yeah, it was essentially I created my whole process was like creating all these connections in these nodes. And the more I create, the more people are going to know who I am and what I do. And I think it was that year that that flywheel actually took effect. Uh,
Fantastic. As we wind down, how can we work with you? How can we try with you and vibe with you?
Yeah, the best way is on my website, which we listed before, www.cjammarketing.com. I'm all over LinkedIn, so you can find me at Beta Jamshidi. If you search that, you'll find me on LinkedIn. And those are the best places to find me.
Great. And final thoughts?
No, just a great session. Thank you for having me on the live show. If anyone needs resources, you can always go to the bottom of my website. There's tons of resources for business vetting agencies, and those are all free. So have at it and find the best partners.
Thank you so much for being here, Brad. You were awesome, and thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Brian.
And thanks to all of you for listening. This has been Success Profiles Radio. Join us every Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern, where I interview another world-class achiever, learn what they did, what they overcame, and the lessons we can learn from them. Until next week, take care, everyone. Goodbye. And I believe we're done.
Awesome. Great
Roy,
job.
thank you for producing again.
Thank you for.
Of course.
And if you can do that edit for me, that would be really great.
Yes, I'll get that edited.
Super. And the replay I can expect, what, in a couple days maybe?
Yes.
Fantastic. Well, I had fun. I hope you did too.
I did. Thanks so much, Brian.
All right. And I'll share the replay with you when it's done.
Sounds good.
All right. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
All right. Bye.